Hi there, I'm James Osborne, the co-founder of the Recruitment Network, and this is the TRN Podcast. Every week, we unpack the strategies, the technologies, the processes and mindsets fueling today's top-performing recruitment agencies. We take a look behind the scenes of some great recruitment businesses, we listen to the real-life stories of those who have built those businesses, and we learn from some of the industry's greatest thought leaders to help you become both future fit and future relevant. So let's begin with this next episode of the TRM Podcast. So let me just walk you through a bit of a backdrop of why we're here talking about what we're talking about today. I think the reality is the recruitment sector has gone through a massive shift and is going through a massive shift at the moment. It's a bit of an evolution or a revolution, whatever you want to refer to it as. And I think it's actually really quite exciting if you can understand how to navigate it. If I was to summarize and sort of break down the recruitment sector into four categories at the moment, I'd do it in very crudely like this. You've got a bunch of recruitment companies who sadly have failed, who haven't made it through the last couple of years and no longer exist. That's just a reality of what's going on. You've got some recruitment companies who are still suffering a little bit and really finding it quite hard and a bit of a struggle at the moment. You've got other recruitment companies who are now managing okay, they're doing okay, the market's coming back in their favour. They've figured out what to do, and they seem to be doing a lot better now than they were before. And then the final group are those recruitment businesses who are significantly growing at the moment, who have really figured it out and are doing really, really well in this type of marketplace. So that, I think, is how I summarize the market. You would find yourself in one of those four categories. I don't need to know where you are. Hopefully you're more on the right-hand side than on the left-hand side. And we're starting to see a lot of businesses now push over to that right-hand side, which is really exciting. What we're seeing is the rise of the super agency. I've been talking about a lot of this recently, and these are recruitment companies who are just figuring this out now, who are doing really, really well, having record months, record quarters again, back to the good old days, but maybe in a slightly different way than they did before. I was just going to share with you some examples of some businesses that we work with across TRN, who are what I would refer to as super agencies right now. And just to give you an idea of why, this is one of the members. They had about 67 recruiters about 2 years ago. They're down to 15 people now, so you could argue that they failed. But actually, their average cost per month are around 200 grand a month. Their average weekly contract GP is around 50k a month, so their contract GP is now covering their overheads, and they're doing about 120k average perm fees per month. So as a business, they're doing about 1.5 or 1.3, 1.4 million pounds worth of profit. So you could argue that they've shrunk down and they're a smaller business and therefore they failed. I would argue they're a brilliant business now because they figured out how to transact and make more out of what they've already got out of a smaller number of people. That's a really cool business, and some of you on the call will be very similar to that type of business. Here's another company, 29 recruiters, up from 18 this time last year, so they've grown in headcount. Average GP per recruiter is now sitting at 460 grand. That's average. Low performers, mid performers, and high performers as well. That's a brilliant business when you look at it. And interesting enough, 35% of their GP comes from a different service outside of just pure recruitment. Again, something we talk a lot about in the Pinnacle program, if any of you are interested in that. Another agency is a solo recruiter, so solo entrepreneur. We work with lots of solo entrepreneurs, doing around 220 grand's worth of annual recurring revenue from a community platform that they've built. Did about 170 grand's worth in perm fees, so doing about 400 grand on their own. And they outsource some of their work to a resourcer in South Africa and a community manager in South Africa. So again, a solo entrepreneur doing 400 grand's worth of revenue, of which half of it is, or over half of it, is recurring revenue from a service or a product outside of recruitment. And some of you would have heard of Metric, who sold, it wasn't yesterday actually, it was last week, sold by BGF at a valuation of £100 million. So this is a recruitment business, traditional recruitment company, perm-only recruitment company, search firm, been going for about 6.5 years, up to 130 consultants, sold at a value of 100 million valuation. That's bloody brilliant when you think about it. So again, it just shows you that the recruitment industry is absolutely living and breathing and fine if you can figure out how to transact in this type of market and become one of these super agencies, which is what we're going to be talking about. What do these super agencies all have in common? There's a bunch of things. There's lots of different stuff depending on who the business is, but some things in particular, they do the basics better and more regularly than the competition. That's nothing complicated about that, but they just have that consistency in doing the really basic stuff that we know that works, doing it more regularly and better than anybody else. They're more visible than everyone else. This is what will lead into what we're going to talk about today around BD. So they're out in front of their customers and their market more than anybody else is. They're human centric, so it's all about the people, but they are AI superpowered. So they're using AI. They figured out how to use AI properly. They build communities. Their whole go-to-market strategy is around building a community from candidates and a client perspective, which is again part of their BD strategy. They realize there's an opportunity in the market right now, and they're going for it. So they've invested in their growth. And so the last point that we're going to sort of link onto today is their BD engine is purring. They've built a BD strategy. They built a BD machine. AI is powering that machine to an extent, and it is purring, it's running, and it's really, really working well. So I'm going to try and talk to you about some of those things today as part of your BD strategy. But ultimately, what I want you just to remember is that the market will always be different for different people. Some people will be suffering in this type of market, some people will be flying in this type of market. My objective is to ensure that all the TRM members are absolutely flying, and we're starting to see some really great stuff happening at the moment, which really excites me. So I love this type of market. I think it's absolutely brilliant. So let's talk about BD. I've sort of said about rethinking BD because I think ultimately, I think we need to think a little bit about how it's changing and how business development has evolved over the years, and maybe what we need to be doing to change and evolve to keep up pace with how customers like to actually buy from us. So we're going to look at strategy as much as the tactical side of things as well. Just before I go straight into that, I just want to give a quick introduction to TRN for those of you who aren't familiar with TRN. So we are a large global community, so made up of trainers and coaches and advisors and mentors to the recruitment sector, and we work with hundreds and hundreds of recruitment organizations around the world, and we have one very simple objective: is to help our members improve their performance, their productivity, and their profitability, the things that we obsess about more than anything else. And if you're not a member of TRN, then we'd love to welcome you into the community. As always, if you are a member of TRN, make sure you're tapping into all the stuff that's going on at the moment. So just a couple of things to remind members. We've got the Accelerator Framework, which we're now I'm personally working with lots of recruitment companies on at the moment, which is your sort of 12-month strategy plan for 2026. If any of you on the call would like a copy of the Accelerator Framework, which is almost like a business plan for this year of what you need to focus on and what you need to get right, just give me a yes or a thumbs up in the chat or the comments, or whatever it is, and we'll make sure we get that sent across to you afterwards. I've got one of my team on the call today who's going to be making notes of who's asking for this stuff, and we'll make sure you get sent copies of it. Again, there's no charge for this, it's free. We just want you to have a plan in place to make sure that you're accelerating. We think this is a time to be accelerating in the marketplace as much as anything else. We're going to talk about BD today. I'm going to touch on Velocity as well, which is the brand new business development playbook that we've created for the recruitment sector. Back in 2024, I created a playbook because I realized not many recruitment companies actually had a strategy. We did lots of sales stuff, but there wasn't really a strategy behind it. That evolved last year when we created the RevOps playbook, where we sort of evolved the business development strategy into more of a RevOps strategy. Some of you, I'm sure, are familiar with that. Hopefully you are. Again, if any of you want copies of those playbooks, let me know. We'll get those sent across to you. What we've just finished and what we're just launching at the moment is Velocity, which basically brings all of this together, which is a new fit-for-purpose playbook guide on how to do BD in this type of market, and obviously incorporates a lot of the AI agent stuff that we've been building as well with the members as well. So again, if any of you are interested in that, let me know. The Velocity program is purely for TRM members at this stage, I'm afraid, because we put a lot of work and effort, and it really is quite transformational. But what we're also doing with the Velocity program is that we're also launching a whole bunch of training workshops for the owners and the consultants as well, all free to attend, as well as all the AI agents, etc., etc. So have a plan, have a strategy in place. Use ours if you want to. That's absolutely fine. We've also got the Pinnacle program. Probably the thing I've been most excited about for the last 20 years is the Pinnacle program. We're seeing some amazing results off the back of this. I was in a board meeting yesterday in London where we've rolled this out to the business already, and it is absolutely transforming their company, which is great. And this is about how to convert your business, different type of business, into higher margin business, offering a slightly different service line. Again, I'll touch on this in a second, but again, if any of you want a copy of the Pinnacle program, that's about to be launched as a free document to share with people. I'm very happy to share that with you. I think it's one of the biggest game changers in our industry, and I think it's bloody exciting. So again, I want to get you guys as excited about it as I am, and you'll see why as we go through it. A couple of other things very quickly. We've got the social scaling program running at the moment. This is a completely free program. It's about your personal brand, how to beat the LinkedIn algorithms, how to become famous on social media. Completely free to attend. It's a 4-week live personal branding program. I run the program, so you have to listen to my voice, I'm afraid, but it seems to work. On the last program, we had £180,000 worth of business won by one of the members alone from the back of the program. So that's pretty cool. So if any of you are interested in joining that, let me know. We've got a current cohort running at the moment with 100 members on it. Next one will be starting fairly soon. All the content, as always, of that gets put up onto the TRM World platform for you to access retrospectively as well. And we've also got traction
And then Traction, again, is probably one of my little pet projects, which is our 4-week AI development program. So it's a live coaching program once a week for 4 weeks, online, but basically where we're actually building agentic AI, we're building AI agents that you can physically build on the course, and then you take away and then you own. Again, we've got a course running about to start, next course about to start. If any of you are interested in the next one, let us know. Come and join us on that. It's absolutely brilliant. Some of the stuff that the members are building at the moment is insane. It's blowing your mind away. I went to an event last week actually where people were talking about AI and some of the things they were building, and it was almost like going back to preschool in comparison to what some of the members are building on the Traction course. So let's get really ahead of the game here, guys, because there's such a big opportunity with all this. Again, you'll see all this on the TRM Well platform as well, so feel free to have a good look around that when you get the chance to do so. And just one last thing, we've got a lot of events happening at the moment, a lot of live events as anything else. If any of you on the call are solo entrepreneurs, so you run a 1 or a 2-person business, and you want to come to a live event in London on the 13th of May, we've got the morning booked out. We're going to have a big group of people coming together, all solo entrepreneurs who run sort of solo founder businesses. If you want to come and join us for that, let us know, reach out to us. The team will reach out to you anyway. And then we'd love you to welcome to that. Again, free as always, come and join. Hopefully we can help you with that. Okay, cool. So let's get into what I want to talk about today. Oh, should just say, by the way, if you are a member, I'm doing lots of one-to-one sales audits at the moment and velocity sales strategy sessions. So if any of you are members and you want to book in with me to do one of those, let me know. We'll get that booked in, and that's a one-to-one session with me where I'm going to do a bit of a sales audit with you and help you directly with your sales strategy as well. Obviously, if you're not a member, come and join and come and help yourself to that as well. Okay, cool. Let's talk about sales. Let's talk about BD. I'm going to try and cover loads of aspects of it just to get you thinking about it. And this will then bleed into a little bit about what we're going to be doing around with the velocity framework as we go. First thing I'll just quickly say, sales is as much about increasing the value of your existing customer base. It is about building new pipeline. So whilst we're going to focus on winning new business at the moment, I will also say you do just please make sure you're focusing on your existing customers first, because actually that's sort of where the real money is as much as anything else. You need to be bloody brilliant at both. We run a program called Operation Goldmine. It's all free on the TRM Well platform. You can help yourself to it. And it's a really simple process about how to penetrate within your existing customers. So how do you lock in what you've already got, your dormant and existing customers, lock them in legally, commercially, emotionally, and then squeeze more out of them? It's the low-hanging fruit. It's easy business. Most of you are leaving so much money on the table off the back of it. I've run this program with hundreds of recruitment companies over the years. This is OA Group, and we ran it with them a couple of years ago, or about 2 years ago, I think it was. Laura actually wrote about this on social media that, based on what we did with Operation Goldmine, they found over £7 million worth of business that basically was sitting on the table that they hadn't been going after because they ignored it. Not ignored it purposely, but just by accident. So Operation Goldmine helps you find that business. Won't necessarily be 7 million, but it'd be pretty close to it. So again, if any of you want to have a bit of a focus around your existing account management strategy and how to squeeze more out of what you've already got, reach out to us, go on the TRM Well platform, download Operation Goldmine, implement it, roll it out. It works. It's brilliant. And again, if any of you want your hand held in with that, then let me know. When it comes to new business, however, let's just focus on that. I've been in sales all my life. I'm a salesperson. I love being a salesperson. Recruitment is a sales industry. It always will be. So you've got to be really bloody good at sales. And I think let's just remember, sales is an art as much as it is a science. You need to be good at and understand both. I think that's really important. One of the things that we've also got to remember is that the B2B buying process has changed. So the way your customers buy from you now has changed. In the same way, the way you buy things has changed. So consequently, unless your sales strategy has changed from what it's always been, I don't think you're going to keep up. I'm not saying the old school stuff doesn't work anymore. This is not me saying don't pick up the phones or that type of stuff. Rubbish. You need to be on the phones. You need to be in front of customers, probably more so than ever than now. But the way we do it is different. The way we do it has changed. And if you just keep doing the same thing, same day out, you're not going to get the same results out of it. It just won't work as well as effectively. So what I say to people is the core principles of B2B sales haven't really changed. Let's be honest about it. Over the last 20, 25 years, this is still the same. Yes, it was 25 years ago. It is today. So make sure you're sticking with the core principles. That doesn't change, as I've said. But the wrapping, I think, has changed. I think the way that we do sales has changed, or has to change, because the way people buy has changed as well. It's as simple as that. And here's some example things. I won't go through this in detail, but again, some simple things such as, your buyers have already made half their decisions before they even speak to their suppliers, because we're so better informed now because we've got AI and search and data to be able to access to help us make a decision before we actually even need to interact with you in the first place. So we need to just be across this and just think a little bit about how this is changing a little bit now, as much as anything else. But that's okay. But let's just make sure we're keeping up and adapting to it as much as we possibly can, because just by doing the same thing we've always done, I don't think we're going to get the same results anymore. And that's why when I talk to people all the time about their sales processes, you say, is your cold calling working? Well, we're doing it, we're doing lots of it, but it's just not working as well as it used to. Or my emails, well, they're just not converting as well as they used to. I know, we know that it's because we're doing it in the same way. We haven't evolved and we haven't kept up and changed things. Remember, the most important thing in sales is your conversion rates. Okay, so your return on activity. So I don't care how much activity you're doing, as long as you're getting a bloody good return on investment for the time that you're investing doing it. And if it's working, then do more of it. If it's not working, then stop doing it. Fairly simple thing to say. But we've got to be obsessing about the quality of the conversion rates that we're getting out of our activity. And this is allowing us then to stand out from everybody else within the marketplace. It's a very, very saturated, busy, noisy market at the moment. You've got to be able to stand out from everybody else when you come in, when it comes to BD. And this is not about USPs. I would presume you all know what your USPs are. I presume you know how to articulate those, et cetera, et cetera. This is about how do you even get a chance to talk to your customers about your USPs in the first place. And that's the bit I obsess about. Once you're in front of them, that's a whole new kettle of fish, but that's the golden grail where to get to. Okay, so we need to be what I refer to as the purple cow. It's an expression I've been using for decades. It came from a Seth Godin book, if any of you are interested, and it's a really cool principle about, in a marketplace that is saturated by competition, you're just like a big field of black and white cows. How do you become that purple cow in your market? How do you stand out, get noticed, so people want to engage with you, want to hang out with you for the right reasons? We talk about this on the social scaling course. We talk about how do you beat the LinkedIn algorithms, for example, because you could be writing content all day long on social media, but if the algorithms aren't working in your favor and you haven't figured out how to beat the algorithms, then nobody's going to see your content. It's completely irrelevant. So again, have you even figured that bit out? And first and foremost, if you want help with that, again, I'm very happy to share with you our document around how to beat the LinkedIn algorithms. If you can, give us a yes or a thumbs up or a chat, whatever it is in this thing, and we'll send you a copy of that document so you can see how the algorithms actually work and what are you doing to beat them. Because if you're not doing that, your content won't land in the first place. Your top of your sales funnel is going to become a little bit quiet, a little bit obsolete. And then you're going to think about the behaviors of your customers. And we laugh about this a little bit in the office, but it's actually very, very true. When do you check your messages? When do you check your notifications on your phones? And the reality is, just think about what you do. I turn on my phone. I wake up in the morning, I'm half asleep. I turn on my phone, I roll over, grab my phone. On my phone, I've got Instagram, I've got Facebook, I've got LinkedIn, I've got my emails, I've got my personal emails, etc., etc. And I'm just scrolling through them randomly as I go, as most people tend to do first thing in the morning, either in bed or in the shower or over breakfast, etc. So bear in mind, when you're sending out that perfectly crafted email to your customers or that LinkedIn message to your customers, they're probably half asleep and reading it at the same time as they're reading about what they're planning to do on the weekend with their friends as well. You're not that important at that moment. In fact, you're quite not important at all. We know our customers, we know you, we know people scroll on their phones left, right, and center where they spend most of their time. In fact, the actual forecast is 300 meters a day is what people scroll on their phones. How sad is that? But that's a bit of reality. So we're not really standing out in the market. And then at the same time, you're now trying to cold call them, think, right, well, I can't get through an email or in-mail, so I cold call them instead. But the problem with cold calling them is now when your phone call rings, unless you're in their contact number, you come up as suspected spam. That's what it says about you. And even worse, now you have to do actually write in first before the call is what's the actual reason for the call about. So how many of you even trained yourselves or trained your consultants on what to write in that particular box whilst they're doing a cold call? We haven't, because we don't bother. We just do the cold calls and hopefully it will work. We've got to think differently about how we're approaching this type of stuff. One simple example of that is helping. We've had a bunch of members come up with strategies about how do they get their mobile number actually into someone's mobile phone. So when the phone call comes up, it doesn't come up as suspected spam at all. Think about that as a strategy. And actually, it's really interesting when you come up with some ideas to be able to do it. What we're trying to do is just move away from being these black and white cows. You're all the same. It's ugly. It's smelly. And that's how your customers are seeing us. And a lot of recruiters at the moment, sadly, because it's just such a busy, noisy marketplace. Be the purple cow, stand out in your marketplace. And that's what we're going to try and do. this is not just about clever words on a script or an email now. This is about a scientific strategy to help you get in front of people quicker than anybody else. Let's break this down. I start with always, what's the ultimate objective of outbound BD activity? So what are we trying to achieve? Every time I ask this to recruiters, they will always say exactly the same thing. It's to win business. It is absolutely not. The answer to this question is not about winning business. That will come. Don't worry about it. The ultimate objective of any outbound BD activity is to have a meeting. It's as simple as that. That is as old school as you can get in sales. It's about how many meetings, how visible are you in front of your customers every single week. And some of you heard me say this before. When I started out in recruitment back in the day, we were tasked to do 20 client meetings every single week. We didn't have Zoom or Teams and that type of stuff. That was getting out in front of people. And that stayed true to me today and will always stay true to me. That's what sales is all about. The best salespeople, the best recruiters I know are the ones who are in front of their customers more than anybody else. And now with Zoom and Teams, etc., you've got the ability to do that en masse, at scale, anywhere around the world. So you think about what is the volume of meetings, and everything you do from a top of the funnel sales activity, outbound sales activity, is all about generating a meeting with the customer. Not about sales. The sales will happen afterwards. It's about getting in front of them in the first place. Does that make sense? Nothing rocket science about that. But how many of you are really obsessing about it? And how many of you are really doing anything different about increasing the number of meetings that you're having? Now, some of you say, well, that's all very well, James, but it's really hard to get a meeting with the client. It's actually not hard to get a meeting with the client if you're thinking about it in the right sort of way. And we'll talk about that in a second. So, ideally, if you can have a meeting with the client, if you can get in their meeting rooms, that's fantastic. Ideally, however, you want to get in their boardrooms. And that's the really cool thing here, because if you're really smart with this and you can figure out a way or a strategy in your sales strategy to get into your customers' boardrooms, figuratively, that's where you can really influence the decision making. You can challenge their thinking, and we can talk to them about multiple opportunities and workforce planning, not just have you got a job. We can start talking about proper talent solutions and a bunch of other stuff as well. If any of you have been involved in any of my Pinnacle stuff, which is the stuff I mentioned earlier on, which I really hope you are getting and thinking about, this is the most exciting thing. You can't sell Pinnacle unless you are in front of someone face to face. It's as simple as that. We've got to get in front of them, see the whites of their eyes, to have the opportunity to earn the right to be able to sell them higher value, better product services, etc., etc. And this is some of the stuff that comes out of the Pinnacle program, out this sort of almost like this talent consultancy services that people are selling now at different levels, more advanced stuff, and then this extremely advanced stuff, etc., etc. This is highly lucrative, highly valuable, and in demand at the moment by your customers, which is really cool. Again, get involved with the Pinnacle stuff if you're interested, find out a bit more about that. But the principle's the same. You can't do any of this nice stuff unless you're in front of your customers face to face. If you just want to pick up jobs, ambulance chase, etc., etc., fine. Just do your email campaigns. You might pick up the odd job. Let's get in front of customers. That's what the best people are doing right now. And we're seeing time and time again, I get these on the WhatsApp groups, and people WhatsApp me all the time from TRN of all the results and successes that they're getting at the moment. And we're seeing more and more of this happening at the moment. This is one of the members over in Amsterdam, who I'm with this later on this week. This is one of the other members who want a really nice contract, 350 grand. You can't win this type of stuff over an email. You've got to get in front of your customers. That's the important piece about it. Okay, so that's the obsession. That's the objective of your outbound activity. Now, the cool thing is, and we're going to talk a little bit about AI as part of this today, you can use AI to help you with all of this. This is my personal agent hub where I build AI agents. I've got 350, 360 of them. So that we're adding to this all the time, and different ones. Some are live, some are in development, some are my personal ones, etc. But you use the AI agents then to help you get in front of customers, to help you do the heavy lifting on the sales side of things. So as an example, if any of you are interested in trying to win those type of capability projects, as we call them, those higher value deals from the Pinnacle program, then you can use an AI agent. This is one I built where you literally type in your market and geographical location, and it will produce for you a list of all of these high value projects that are out there that you're completely missing just because you're chasing jobs as opposed to looking for talent projects instead, where there's multiple job opportunities. Again, if any of you want a copy of my agent, the Capability Projects Finder, just give me a yes or something in the chat, and we'll get it added to the chat, or we'll send it across to you as well. And you can literally just download it and use it yourself if you want. It's free. But there's an example of an agent. I built it. You can use it. Simple stuff, but it's doing some of that heavy lifting for me. It's identifying opportunities for me without me having to do so myself, which I thought was sort of pretty cool. And that's the power of the AI thing. So starting of today, how many prospect customers are your recruiters getting in front of every week? And is that increasing? And what is your strategy to make sure that it is increasing and that's happening? Give you a quick example of this. This is the old school sales funnel that we've been talking about for years in some of the playbooks. Top of the funnel, nice and wide. My different channel strategy, so different ways of filling up the top of the funnel. My job is to try and bring people down through the different stages of the sales funnel, from cold to warm to hot. Quick example of that. This is one of the members that we were working with, a recruitment business in London, about 14 recruiters. They wanted to get in front of loads and loads of customers, so we helped them with that. So we said, okay, let's generate some interest first. So let's identify something that your customers would be really interested in, and a reason why they would want to meet with you. In this particular case, it was around some of the employment legislation changes that came in April. So what did we do? Well, rather than try and sell them recruitment or anything, we just basically said, well, we're going to run a round table all around these employment legislation changes. We've got this employment lawyer coming along, 45 minutes long. Do you want to come? That was it. That was the sales pitch. It's just, do you want to come? On the back of that, we had 132 people sign up for the round table. Big chunk of those were customers they've been trying to cold call and sell to for ages who have never responded, and suddenly they're now turning up to their round table. The call to action at the round table is at the end of it. We'll have a one-to-one meeting with you afterwards to talk about some of the what you can do with this in your business and what we've learned, etc. And on the back of that, they ended up with 41 one-to-one meetings. Now that's a simple sales process. Nothing rocket science about it. It doesn't replace the telephone or anything else that you're doing. It's just one of the channel strategies that you can employ. But how cool is that when you think about it, that you can actually get in front of now 130, 40, 50, 60, whatever number is, customers all in one time, and then have all that one up front. All you're doing is getting in front of them. Once you're in front of them, we've then got the right to talk to them about and sell them recruitment and other stuff that we're going to talk to them about. Does that make sense of the principle? And I think rocket science, I'm just trying to get you thinking about this in a slightly different way than maybe you're thinking about before. The question you should be asking is, how are you going to get into your customers' boardrooms? That's a really important thing. And that's why we have this multi-channel strategy. The channel strategy is really simple. It's about three things. It's around value. So everything you do in your sales strategy is about adding value to your customers. The more value you add to your customers, the more they will like you, the more they will know you, the more they will trust you, and the more likely it is they're going to let you come into their boardrooms. You need visibility, so getting in front of them and making sure that you're known in your market, and you do that at velocity or volume. So you're doing that at scale. Again, AI can help you with this as much as anything else. So let's think about this and how does this break down? So imagine you're targeting, let's say, HR professionals this year. So let's imagine your target ideal customer profile is an HR professional. So we go, right, okay, well, let's have a think about what are the reasons why an HR professional would want to spend time with you right now. Is it just because they want to see your CVs? Possibly, but probably unlikely right now, if anything else. So we go, okay, well, what are the big priorities for them? What are they thinking about? What are they concerned about? What are they interested in? And let's see what we can do to add value to them. So we went out and did some research on this. This list here, in order, are the top, in priority order, are the top priorities for HR professionals right now. And you can see recruitment is on there, but it's about sort of 2/3 of the way down. There's a whole bunch of other stuff at the moment that is more interesting or on top of their agendas. So start, rather than saying, how can I spec out a candidate and hopefully it might land, let's instead go, how can I help my customers, my market, my ideal customer profiles when it comes to preparing for these legislation changes, or understanding better about HR systems, or workforce planning, or employee engagement, etc. How can I add value to them? Because the more value you add to those priorities, the more they're going to be interested in talking to you. The more likely it is they're going to invite you into their boardroom. Does that make sense? So that's the sort of the simple strategy. Understand your ICP, understand what are their priorities, and let's go and add some value to them, and let's wheel them in slowly or move them down through the sales funnel slowly by doing so. Again, the great thing about this is you can use AI and technology to help you with this. So what I did was I actually went out to AI, one of my agents. I typed in those challenges that they're facing. And on the back of that, it came up with a whole list of tools that I can then create, that I can then literally give away for free to my audience, my target audience, using AI. And I can build all these tools completely for free now with AI. That's the really cool thing about it. So I've gone back to my customers and go, these are your challenges. AI has helped me identify what tools I could build, or how can I add value to them against those challenges. And then I use my AI toolkit to actually go and build those tools to go and give them away to them. So I've got this box of stuff I'm just giving away, adding value all the day long. Okay, does that make sense? I hope that's a simple way of thinking about bringing people down through your sales funnel and finding ways to build trust, rapport, engagement with them in the first place. Now, remember also that your buyers don't stick to one channel anymore. They move between different channels. We know this. So you have to engage them across email and LinkedIn and WhatsApp and so on and so forth. So you've got to go to where your customers are. How do you start that? How do you identify that? Well, you start with your ICP, so your ideal customer profile document. So important to get this piece right. Map out, sit down, work out your ideal customer profile. What are they consuming from a marketing point of view? What sort of content or insights or information do they really value? What are they looking for right now? How do they want to be outreached by you? Do they want to talk to you on LinkedIn or WhatsApp? Do you know the answer to these questions? If you need help with this, we've got a really cool document called Personas and Pyramids. It comes from the social scaling program. If any of you want to copy that, again, just give us a yes or a chat and a thumbs up. You can take this document, you can complete it, and then every BD AI agent that you're building, you upload it into that. So every time your AI agent is doing anything for you, it's reading it back to your ideal customer profile. So for example, some of my marketing agents that I built, who built some of my marketing content, they look at my ICP's last 3 or 4 weeks worth of content they've been engaging with, and then tell me your next week's worth of content needs to be aligned to that, because that's clearly what's working the best. So we've got the tools to help us with this now, if you're smart with it, which is obviously really cool. Okay, that will tell you a little bit more about their buying journey, their preferences, what they look for, etc., etc. So this makes us understand the ideal customer profile. So everything I'm going to do from an outreach point of view is going to align to my ideal customer profile, so it's going to land properly. Again, there's agents that you can build for this. So here's another agent called our Content Planner Social Scaling one. So this comes from, again, the Social Scaling course. You literally type in your name of your ideal customer profile and the location where you are recruiting, and it will do two things for you. It will map out and build out your ICP document for you straight away, so that does it automatically. It then creates a week's worth of social media posts that you can then edit. Don't just copy and paste, but you can edit and then post out or put out on your scheduling plan for the following week. We cover all this in the social scaling course. Again, so if any of you want a copy of the Content Planner agent, happy to share it with you. We'll stick it in the chat. Just give us a yes or whatever, and you can use that. And this now creates your ICP and your content for you for your marketing. So simple sort of stuff. So I've just typed in here on the agent fintech business in London. It produces my ICP document, and then it produces my whole content plan for the week, which I can literally copy and paste. I'm not going to copy and paste and post. I'm going to copy and paste, edit, and then put it out on social media. So what I'm posting is my content. This is just doing all the heavy lifting for me. Okay, simple sort of stuff again. And then you can use AI agents for other ways when it comes to the BD strategy. So we talk a lot about ambulance chasing. I had a long conversation with some members last week about ambulance chasing, which is what a lot of recruiters do at the moment, which is they're sort of waiting for customers to post live vacancies, and they pick up the phone and go, hey, I noticed you're hiring for a Python developer at the moment. Can I help you with that type conversation? That's called ambulance chasing. It's fine, it works, but it's quite hard work, and actually you're already behind the 8 ball. I say, let's look at hiring triggers. So do you know, looking at your ICP, what are the triggers that you can see, that you can identify, that would demonstrate that they're going to be hiring in 30, 60 or 90 days time? Think about that as a question, because if you can identify when someone is going to be hiring before they announce it, then you're in a really, really strong position. Again, we've created some really cool stuff around this. This is one of the agents we built just for fun, actually, but it created a massive opportunity for one of the members. This is Charlie. He's an office lease agent I built. What Charlie does is scrapes all the office leases that have been signed in any geographical location. So I know a particular customer when they sign on a new office lease. Now that new office lease, if they've got 45 staff on LinkedIn in Manchester, let's say, and they've just signed through my agent, I've just found out they've signed on a 100-person office lease in Manchester. Well, there's a 55 headcount gap there. They're probably going to be hiring over the course of the next 30, 60, 90 days. So that helps me identify that. I can now pick up the phone well before they've even talked to people about hiring, because I know they're going to be hiring quite soon. Does that make sense? So that's a hiring trigger. Lots of examples of hiring triggers ranging, and we talk a lot about this in the Velocity program, about how to build hiring trigger profiles, etc., etc. This is Charlie in action here. So this is Charlie, office lease agent. I'm just going to type in this case, London leases. I might get more specific, obviously, for certain ICPs. Let's go London leases. And here's a list now of all the different office leases that have just been signed in different parts of London. I can now follow this up. I can get a list of contact names, details of who the companies are, who the decision makers are, and off I go straight away. Do it again for Manchester. Even gets nice pictures of what the offices look like. You get the idea. So again, really simple stuff. If any of you want a copy of Charlie, happy to share that with you again. Just let me know, and we'll, in the chat, and we'll send it across to you. And you can just plug that in and then basically have it sitting in the background. And every week, every day, when there's a new office signed in your marketplace, in your ICP, it will just let you know. How cool would that be? And you can just pick up the phone. Hey, Chris, I noticed you're moving into a new office. I bet you might be hiring quite soon. Let's have a chat about it. And off we go. Okay, cool. Fairly simple stuff. Let's talk about the channel strategy. At the top of that sales funnel, multiple channels. You can't just have one channel anymore. You need to have multiple channels. They need to be good. Different types of channel. That's not my screen, my phone screen, by the way, because it's got Tinder on it. I don't use Tinder, just realised. But there are multiple channels that you could be using. So you need to have different channels depending on where your market and your IC target customers are hanging out. Fairly obvious. If they're hanging out on Instagram, have a channel, have a strategy on Instagram to get meetings. If they're not hanging out on Instagram, don't bother with it. You get the idea. Same thing with LinkedIn, same thing with X, Facebook, and so on and so forth. So think about your strategy. Think about which channels your ICPs are using. It will change a little bit as well, and not just based on your ICP, but based also on the demographic. Different age groups now use different channels in different ways. We know the 16 to 24-year-olds are going to be using a different channel strategy, or spending more time on certain channels and certain platforms than other people would be, let's say older people. So again, let's understand that. Let's identify this. You can use tools to be able to do all this, to find all this information out. And then if that's what it's telling you, then that's where you're going to be spending your time and effort. In these cases here, if it's email, right, we're going to do proper email campaigns and so on and so forth. So again, have a little bit about that, about where your ideal customer profile are actually hanging out, and then how we can adapt our outreach strategy to those different types of buying styles, in essence. Again, I'll share these slides with you so you can have a good look, read through this later on. Okay, cool. So let me just flip through to this end. So what I want you to be thinking about ultimately in your BD outreach strategy is flipping the narrative slightly. So less about how do I get in front of a customer to win some business, but is more about how can I get my ideal customer profile to want to spend time with me, to buy from me. There's a big difference between the two. And if you can understand that difference, it will transform your sales strategy, I can guarantee it. So let me break this down in a simplistic sense. Here's the sales funnel again. You have two types of sales outreach strategy. You have an outbound and an inbound strategy. They're two different things. You need to have a few of each to be running at any one time and be bloody good at them. So this is your outbound stuff, the classic stuff that we do. So your cold calling, your in-mail outreach, email marketing, chasing up ads, Google ads, reverse specking out candidates, etc., etc. It's all the classic stuff outbound. All that stuff is really good. You need to be bloody brilliant at all of those things, all the bits that ones that you're going to do. But don't just have an outbound strategy, also have an inbound strategy as well. This is where you're basically building up momentum, so people are wanting to come and hang out with you. That's different from you outreaching to them directly. Does that make sense? So ultimately, the smart recruiters, when it comes to building a sales strategy, are going, I need an outbound and I need an inbound strategy running concurrently. I'm going to pick 3 or 4 of each of these things, 3 or 4 of the ones on the left and 3 or 4 of the ones on the right. And I'm going to be bloody brilliant at those 6 or 8 things and do them really, really well. And I've got guides for all of these things, by the way, so I can share those with you if you're interested. But ultimately, pick the ones that are going to be best for you, for your market, for your ideal customer profile. 3 from the left, 3 from the right, and then put some science and some art into each of them and do them bloody brilliantly well. And that is the difference between getting sales over the line and making it work or not working, getting that return on activity that we talked about before, those conversion rates. Does it all make sense? Nothing complicated, but it's about building up that proper momentum, and again, using AI to help you with that. We talked about this when we in some of the sales strategy conversations we've had before. You think about, as an example, we've got as an inbound strategy is my podcast strategy. Not saying you should do podcast all of a sudden, but think about it conceptually. What does a podcast do? Why do we do podcasts, and how can it help us from a sales point of view? Remember, get in front of our ideal customer profiles. We know the typical conversion rates you should expect from doing a cold calling strategy. Nothing wrong with that. You just got to do a lot of it to get really good results. But we know there's quite a different return on investment when it comes to a podcast strategy. Let me show you an example of this. Again, I'm going to use AI to help me with this, to help me understand what's the best way of doing this. So let's imagine I recruit for SaaS or tech sales leaders or SaaS sales leaders. That's my marketplace. I'm going to run a podcast for this because I want to get in front of some of the top SaaS sales leaders, not because I want them on my podcast because I'm interested in podcasting. It's because it's a bloody good excuse to get in front of them one-to-one. So I go into AI, I go into one of my agents, what are the top 10 podcasts for SaaS sales tech leaders? And it will produce for me a list based on the data of the most popular, the most successful, the noisiest SaaS sales podcasts. I then go back into it and say, now for each of these podcasts, who are the 5 most popular guests for each one? And it will now map out for me the best people who came to each of these ones. So this is now a list of all the most popular guests on the SaaS sales podcast. So I know these people here are really interesting people. They enjoy podcasting. They're also senior people within organizations. I then get my agents to then go and map out for me their email address and contact details so I can reach out to them. And instead of trying to cold call these people, instead what I'm going to do is invite them onto my podcast series this month, which is all about the top 10 most inspirational SaaS sales tech leaders in Manchester or whatever it might be. Now, if I invite them to my podcast, I know having them, they do it already, that I will get a massive sign up for that. Most of them will say yes. If I cold called all these people, I say, do you want to buy recruitment from me? I'm going to be hitting a lot of brick walls. You get the idea. And once I got them on my podcast, 30 minutes podcast, record it, I've got some content, that's brilliant. But I've also got the opportunity now to have a chat with them about other stuff and make them my friend. That's the point of why we do these types of strategies. So again, not suggesting you do podcasting or run round tables, etc., but there are other ways of getting in front of people at scale. Because all we're caring about ultimately is getting in front of people, having those meetings. Once we're in front of them, we can then do our next stage of the sales process. For each of your strategies, for each of your channel strategies, make them AI augmented, not AI replaced. In other words, use AI to superpower and supercharge them as much as you possibly can. So when we talk about this from when you're doing your LinkedIn content, we talk about this in the social scaling program. Think about all the stuff that you do on the left-hand side here. It takes a huge amount of time when it comes to building your content strategy. The cool thing is with AI now, I can get a whole lot of AI agents that we've already built that can do all that stuff for me. So my time I spend on LinkedIn, probably about 10 minutes a day maximum, is all around commenting, engaging, connecting with people rather than just trying to come up with content ideas and so on and so forth again. So think about how I can use AI to support me with that as well. And again, we've got some really cool guides and tools and all of this type of stuff to help you with it. How to bring AI into your recruitment outreach workflows, for example. Again, happy to share that with you if any of you are interested. This is about building a proper AI-powered strategy. In the same way, I've got my sales clone. So if you're building BD stuff, build yourself a BD agent. So your sales clone. That can actually do your BD stuff for you. Again, we cover this off in the traction program, so I won't go this into detail, but this is pretty much how you build in super quick a BD agent that can do all of your BD for you better than you can possibly do yourself in a shorter space of time as well. Okay. Again, I won't go through this in detail. Come to the traction course if you want to find out how to build these yourselves. But if you're not building the stuff already at scale, then you're probably missing a bit of an opportunity. Agents running for you in the background, doing the outreach, doing the heavy lifting, doing your lead generation for you, and so on and so forth. And here's some example ones that you're seeing there. So your sales strategy is a multi-channel strategy: value, visibility, and velocity. It's about putting multiple people down who are cold, warm them up, get in front of them, get in there, having meetings with them, and have them earn the right to be able to convert. We talk about this in the accelerator framework. We talk obviously about this in the playbooks, in the Velocity playbook in particular, and the new program that we're just launching for the members. And obviously we talk about, once you're in front of those meetings, how do you sell higher value products and higher value services, which is what Pinnacle is all about. The reason why we created social scaling to allow you to get in front of customers quicker, and then how you can build the AI to support you with that as well. So all the tools are here for you. It's all free to attend, free to action, free to use. There's no excuse, but you do have to build the science as well as the art of the sales process that goes into it. Just to remind you again, we've got the Solo Entrepreneurs event on the 13th of May. I think I'm going to see some of you tomorrow in London at the regional meetup. We've got a load of people coming up for that in London for the day, which would be great. It's a free event. It's going to be huge. And obviously, again, as you remember, if you want to book in now for a one-to-one sales audit or do a velocity sales strategy session with me, I'm more than happy to book that in with you. It's not a problem at all. And obviously, if you're not a member, come and get involved now. I know it feels like an interesting market, a tough market, probably the wrong market to be spending money in. Is absolutely the right time to be investing in your business. So I can't stress what a great opportunity it is to get involved, and we'll show you how to grow your business and become one of those super agencies, which is ultimately what this is all about right now. That's what we obsess about: performance, productivity, profitability, and doing that at scale right now. Big opportunity in the market. If you want to take it, totally up to you. So hopefully that's been useful. Again, I've gone through a lot of stuff today. There's obviously so much you can do in these sort of sessions. Just so I know that landed okay. Just send me a yes or a thumbs up if you liked today and it worked for you. We'll get the slides sent across to you obviously afterwards. We've recorded the session as well, so that'll be up on the TRM Well platform. We've got shed loads of tools and guides and content for you and programs. Our obsession is about helping the market navigate through this time. So it's not like, oh, this is tough. It's like, this is a huge opportunity right now if you choose to accept it. I want you all to become a super agency like some of the ones that we're seeing in the marketplace.
And that's a wrap for this episode of the TRN podcast. Thank you for listening. And make sure you grab the free episode toolkit. All the links are in the description. And click follow in your podcast app so you can get notified of our next episode. If you want to get more out of your business and your people, then please unlock 30 days from our platform, TRN World, for free. And help yourself to all our training content, our guides, our templates, and peer insights. You can get started at trnworld.com/trial. And finally, if you found this episode of the TRN podcast of use,